Hello explorers, and welcome to Zoo Tours, the channel that treks wildlife parks one exhibit at a time and discovers the incredible animals that call our planet home. Now if this is your very first tour, I recommend pressing those like and sub buttons to officially join our group, or click the join button that lets you vote on what we see next. Then I want all of you to guess what species this is that will appear in the next episode. For this video, my friend Johnny and I went to the heart of downtown Dallas, Texas to see what the big deal was about the Dallas World Aquarium. And what we found was, while it does have sea life that you can find at any other aquarium, it's actually more accurate if you call this an indoor zoo. For this 3-part series, we're going to explore this former warehouse that spans multiple levels and ecosystems. You're going to see animals that are so rare in human care that some are only found in a handful of facilities around the world, while others are only found right here in Dallas. There's 3 levels with 5 major zones, and you're given 8 hours to find around 225 different species. As of summer 2025, admission is $31.95 for adults, $26.95 for seniors, $21.95 for children, and 2 and under get in for free. One thing aquariums are infamous for is the lack of parking. Here, that is not a problem. In fact, you can pay an additional $10 online for premium parking that's located directly next to the building. This is also one of the few aquariums worldwide that gives their residents outdoor access, and some of them can even be seen from their prepaid parking lot. If you head towards the building from North Griffin Street, you'll run into an African cichlid tank, and if you go right around the corner, you might see a giant bird that lives right over the road, who you will get to meet in part 3. We both arrived a few minutes before 8:30 and were the first ones in line. Even with that gate still closed, it only cranked up our anticipation. But what really took it even further were the calls that could be heard from the other side. And we are off. Your introduction to the inside of this building is a narrow, winding path that puts you unbelievably close to our first 17 animals. This section is best known as Borneo, although it's a little more diverse than that. You'll actually find sometimes the Dallas World Aquarium plays pretty loose with geography. You'll notice that the habitats are shaped to the curve of the path, and the fencing is either made up of mesh and glass, as you might expect, but also vertical bamboo stalks to give the critters a little more privacy. Some might say they are obstructions, especially for photographers. But in my point of view, I think the bamboo slots make you feel even closer to the birds, and I was still able to get plenty of clear pics. You should find Bali starlings, Indochinese green magpies, a palm cockatoo, along with red-tailed black cockatoos from Australia. In the first 30 feet, you're presented with 4 different hornbills. Blyth's hornbill, their red eyeliner and bumpy casque make them really stand out amongst other hornbills, who usually have smoother casques, like the Rufous Hornbills. They're only found in the Philippines. Locals call them the clock of the mountains because they seem to schedule their calls. Some sources say it's every hour, while others say they only speak at noon and 5 p.m. There's also the larger Rhinoceros Hornbill that bunks with the equally impressive Argus pheasant, directly next to the great Indian hornbill that lives with Victoria crowned pigeons. I've never seen so many hornbills in one place. I've never seen them mixed with other species, and have never heard them be so vocal. Right in front of the Blyth's hornbill are massive and unusual Australian lungfish with Asian arowanas in their own tank. And if you're not paying attention, it's really easy to miss the ponds on either side of the path containing a giant gourami and fly river turtle on one side and more arowanas on the other. You may have noticed that we haven't even passed a ticket gate. That's because Borneo was designed as a queue, so you can observe these animals while you wait to buy or scan your way in. When you get there, grab a field guide if you want to know what you're looking at, because in terms of signage, well, they're not very detailed or present at all. So if the ticket booth is here, that means everything that we've seen so far can be seen free of charge, and that includes our next 3 stops. Inside here lives a tree kangaroo, also from the rainforests of Papua New Guinea, showing off that they're just as adaptable on the ground as they are in the canopy. And they get to live next to a legend, a reason why people from all over come to this aquarium. The yellow-billed hornbill, who cohabitates with a gorgeous Fischer's Turaco, who has the pleasure of always being next to shoebills, a relative of the pelican that lurks Africa's swamps, standing nearly 5 feet tall and equipped with a stare that can make a crocodile nervous, and has a clattering call that sounds like a machine gun. This prehistoric-looking predator is named after their massive Dutch clog-shaped bill that helps them snag frogs, snakes, and even other birds if they feel like it. Now, this all doesn't look like it at first glance, but their habitat is technically also outside. It's viewable from another gallery below and from the apartments across the street. So if you happen to live in one of these and are looking for a roommate, please let me know. As you already saw, one of this place's many extra treats is that it lets you get really up close and personal to almost all of its rare residents. Obviously, it's a way bigger deal when you can count the feathers on a shoebill. You can only get a view like this at one other AZA zoo in America, at Zoo Tampa in Florida. Since we already covered them, this could be the last time as a tour group we ever see this striking swamp stalker. The next species is not only physically unique, but also fairly hard to find in the United States as well. Little blue penguins, the tiniest penguin on Earth. Standing just over a foot tall, this adorable seabird lives along the coasts of New Zealand and southern Australia. A unique animal like this deserves a unique home, and it's definitely one of the strangest designs I've ever seen in any zoo or aquarium. From up here and in the gift shop, you can watch them up close and even from afar on the steps. But like the shoebill, the little blues are visible from a lower level, revealing their habitat is actually more like an open-top outdoor ledge that hangs off the side of the building, and it gives us a chance to watch them swim underwater, even if it is from a distance. After you spend some time by the cliffside, a set of steps will bring us to the 3rd level. Now, before we head straight into the forest ahead, if you turn around, the path behind us leads to the Bali Mynah. The other reason you should grab a field guide is that the menu is printed right on the back. You'll also get a sneak peek of the aquarium's finale. You can either dine in here, or if the weather's right, which I'm willing to bet it is most of the year, you can grab a seat outside where you will pass a pair of beautiful blue-throated macaws, a vibrant, critically endangered species that you might have already spotted because they can also be seen from the steps. Okay, now it's time to follow the sounds of the jungle, the South American Orinoco Rainforest. It starts you off with the jungle jewels, and it's exactly what it sounds like. This vibrant little nook is home to a shimmering cast of small tropical birds, like the golden-headed Manakin, famous for its moonwalk-like mating dance. The Wattled Jacana with its oversized toes made for walking right on floating vegetation. And then you have the colorful Brazilian Tanager, dressed like it's ready for a night out in Rio. Directly across from them, you'll hit the Jungle Junction, one of the most fun mixed exhibits I've ever come across. We're talking about birds, monkeys, and one curious giant that we're all familiar with. There's a black-necked aracari, a small type of toucan that loves fruit and often nests in old woodpecker burrows. There's a Montezuma oripendola, known for its hanging basket-like nests, and because it either loves or it's trying to square up on its own reflection, you can't miss the helmeted curassow. This striking bird sports a bluish fig-shaped casque on its head. It attracts mates and enhances their calls. Now, based on Johnny's multiple visits, he says that if you want to see the giant anteaters, you may not see them until the afternoon. But it was still worth waiting hours to make sure that we didn't miss them, even if this is their 3rd appearance on the channel in the last month. Oh, and then we have the bearded Saki monkeys, if they did go to a barber, they would definitely get a 3-in-1 special. Brow and beard trim, along with a fresh cut to keep those 2 domes on their head in shape. The jungle junction is so tall, the birds and the monkeys, sorry anteaters, can see nearly the entire upper level of the aquarium. And while you're soaking in the sights and sounds, you don't even need to listen closely. The caws, chirps, and hoots sound like a rainforest soundtrack that you can find on a stock site. And it really makes you forget that you're inside an old warehouse. If you look just over that ledge, you'll spot a secluded forest right in the middle of all that. That will actually come into play in part 2 of our series. I won't say what lives down there, but I can say that I am most excited to show you what circles around that island. Just past the jungle junction is a darker, not so inviting path, but we're gonna check it out anyways. And I'm really glad that Johnny found it because it offers a panoramic teaser of what's to come later on, with visuals and one of the most chilling sounds in the animal kingdom. This quote-unquote secret pathway comes to a dead end, so we'll need to backtrack, which will then take us to a lesser-known rainforest local, the pied tamarin, one of the rarest primates in South America. There's actually a lot more to the design of their enclosure, but you can't really see it until you're on the other side. It's actually perched up above another larger habitat, which again, we will get to later on. But I will say that it involves river wolves. At this point, there's a sign that reveals that we have been walking in the canopy section all along, but there's a fork in the trail, and we are going to go towards the right, towards a lush rocky archway. One side of the arch's wall is labeled as the Rapids, which is very loosely themed after the Andes, where you'll find white-faced whistling ducks enjoying a strong stream fed by a very small version of the misty Andean slopes. Next to the rapids is a much quieter space labeled Beneath the Canopy, home to a few more of the forest's flashier residents, like the wire-tailed Manakin, the handsome fruit eater, that's not a nickname, that's its actual common name, along with both male and female lance-tailed manakins. Now that archway is an invitation into the Cloud Forest Trek that opened in 2020, a large open-air square that's home to over 25 different species. While it looks more organized than what you would expect a rainforest to look like, we were still wowed by the huge towering palm trees and what's called a monkey no-climb tree. It's a kind of silk tree that's covered in thousands of sharp cone-shaped spikes on its trunk and branches. While it is nicknamed the monkey no-climb tree, a lot of sources suggest that it evolved this way not to fend off monkeys, but against the extinct giant ground sloth that disappeared thousands of years ago. Now this is a great time to remind you that the field guide isn't always the best guide and doesn't exactly show you where everything is. That archway is actually the base of 2 densely forested habitats. One is called the Lek, named after the natural gathering space where males of certain species put on a performance to win a female's heart. And this one is home to Andean cock of the rocks. And tucked into the corner is a raptor that I didn't even know existed until this moment. The black and white hawk eagle. They like to eat animals that we've actually met today, like Orepandola, Araucaries, Tanagers, and they've been observed scavenging monkeys, but not hunting them. Now please correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons I may have never heard of this beautiful bird before is because they are almost non-existent in human care. And my sources say that if you want to see a black and white hawk eagle outside of its native range, you have to either come right here or apparently go to another facility located in Peru. Running along the entire side of the Cloud Forest Trek is the Colombian Andes Film Wall, a huge LED screen that's 25 feet tall and 52 feet wide. It mimics the rainforest canopy above and transforms in real time, from sunrise to sunset and even into a moonlit sky. But don't get too lost in the illusion, or you might miss what lives below. Well hidden beneath a very thick curtain of leaves is a deer that's so tiny that you would have no trouble stepping right over one. The southern pudu, the second smallest deer in the world. the smallest being the northern species. Southern poodoo are only 18 inches at the shoulder, they are generally solitary outside of the mating season, they're shy and even cuter in person. The back wall is one of the busiest areas in the entire aquarium. Built into the rock are 19 individual living spaces, and they're all different, whether it involves their sizes or the shapes of the glass. The one in the very far left corner contains cotton-top tamarins. Now the 18 other enclosures hold the most impressive collections of tropical frogs I've ever come across. The habitats are so well planted and misty that I couldn't even spot half of them. But that's okay, because we don't want to be too distracted from getting to know a very special mammal. This aquarium has been home to at least one brown-throated three-toed sloth since 2005. And what a privilege it was to not only see one awake, but to be able to get a perspective like this. Compared to their two-toed cousins, their head is much rounder, their face is smaller, and they have an expression that kind of gives them this cartoonish charm. They're also equipped with 8 or 9 cervical vertebrae that allows them to rotate their necks 270 degrees. Most mammals have 7, while two-toed sloths have as little as 5. Wow. Just wow, take it all in, guys. Just in case you're out of the loop and wondering why these moments are such a big deal, especially if you've seen other sloths with your own eyes. Well, there's a very large chance those were two-toed sloths. Like every other species in the building, it's one of the rarest zoo animals in the world. They're very difficult to take care of because they're such picky eaters. Fortunately, the aquarium provides them with a constant supply of their favorite leaves and fruits to perfectly reflect their natural diet. Not many places are willing to do this. So, the Dallas World Aquarium is the only AZA accredited facility with this amazing creature. And that is a perfect place to end this tour. But the very next time we will pick up exactly where we left off and continue and complete this Orinoco Rainforest for part 2 of our Dallas World Aquarium adventure. So comment below what your favorite animal was, or even what changes that you would make to this and why. If you learned something or this episode gave you something to smile about, go ahead and hit that like button. And as always, stay tuned for the next episode, stay wild, and thank you all for watching Zoo Tours.